Hello and welcome to this week's review. The question is, why make do with one Yallarhor when you could have two? I up the ante and transform this power amplifier into a pair of monoblocks, which says a lot for this design's versatility, especially when you look at the price of the Yallarhor. The company certainly didn't have to add monoblock functionality, and it's actually arguable, looking at the price point and thus the relatively low build budget that must have been used, that monoblock functionality could have made way for even better integrated components quality, for example. That said, the monoblock option does remain. It turns this essentially near field small room design into a larger room amplifier system capable of driving just about any hi-fi. Now, if you want all the tech specs and the background and the context, then check out my single Yallarhor power amp review, a link above, and for those who might be watching this on TV, a link down below in the description. You'll see all the tech details there, but essentially here, in brief, you've got a Class AB amplifier spanning 9 inches by 6 inches by 2.5, which is about 230mm by 152 by 66. And it weighs 8 pounds or just over 3.5 kilograms per box when compared to the single unit, which pushed out, what was it, 10 watts I think it was. You're looking in monoblock dual box monoblock configuration, you're looking at a power output of 30 watts. In this configuration at this price point, that should be more than enough for most people. Now, on the front of this box is a simple power light. On the rear are speaker connections, but for monoblock use, you only utilize the central socket pairing for each monoblock speaker output. The one potential problem with this setup is your setup, basically. That is, you will need a preamp with balanced sockets because the Yallarhor can only be run as monoblocks off balanced connections. If that's not an issue, well, you're off and running. Now, to prepare for this review, I chose vinyl as my first port of sound source call, and the track taken from the new reissue from Starlight One, essentially music veterans Susie Starlight and Simon Campbell, and this rather divine comedy-esque, or even the Doves, perhaps. And I used a track called Saving Me. This consists of male vocal lead with female backing, aggressive bass guitar, lead guitar, percussion with busy cymbals. There's also synth backing, providing washers and effects. For reference, I drafted in a pair of German monoblocks from Velvet called the A1Rs. These are older designs now, but I remain firmly in favour of them. I've had them here for some time and I like them very much indeed. Modern day and much larger Velvets, if you look on their website, well, they retail for 7, 8, 9, 10k. So they are serious designs from a serious company. The A1R power amps I have here, though, are broadly, 3 times the price of a pair of Yallarhor monoblocks. So the US Yallarhors have a tough task ahead of them. The Velvets are Class A designs that run so hot you could fry an egg on them. I only handle them while wearing thick gardening gloves. but the sound is worth it. To remind you, as a single unit, the Yallarhors can easily fill a large room with music, but the quality isn't there. They strain, there is no oomph, there is no foundation to the sound, no real strength or grip. Saying that though, as a single unit, this design is really aimed at near field use, powering a hi-fi in a small bedroom or bedsit, or as part of a simple AV setup with a TV, while sitting around 1 meter to 3 meters away from your speakers maximum. In that mode, the sound presentation provides a completely different proposition. In near field mode, the single unit is big, heroic even. The Yallarhor is a fun listen with big bass, great clarity and a balanced presentation. So, the question is this: if one unit works well as a near field amplifier, can 2 Yallarhors work in a larger room if you run them as a pair of monoblocks? So let's look at the sound quality section and we'll find out. And welcome to the sound quality section for the monoblock version of the Yallarhor Power Amp. Some first impression of this monoblock setup: impressive clarity. The low noise delivery was the big headline feature here. Now, you might say, but of course, it's a balanced setup, isn't it? Of course, clarity is good and noise is low. You may have even added a duh as an afterthought, perhaps. Well, I'm here to tell you that no, actually, balanced connections do not always provide great clarity. They don't always provide low noise. They should, I know that, but they don't always. Now, I've heard many a hi-fi company completely cock up balanced outputs. It is not a given. Some designs will give you muddy mid-range, veiled treble, and stodgy bass, if you really want to know. Well, here with the Yallarhors, well, they lift the lead vocal, so the delivery is articulate, it's open and coherent. Those busy cymbals I mentioned, they are wonderful. They are open, they are spacious, neutral, and balanced. And that despite the activity surrounding them, all the clatter, the drama. Despite all of that, the ear could pick up an oasis of reverb around the cymbals. The bass guitar, well, it retained its aggression, but now it delivered the energy with new focus and precision. I also loved the synth's sense of isolation. The separation of the synth from the rest of the band added detail to this area because the synth had its own room to work within. Also, for the first time, I could hear electronic textures, new textures, subtle textures that were there, but I just couldn't hear them before. I then switched from vinyl to CD, and the new box set from Kirsty McCall called See That Girl, and the track They Don't Know. Now, I wanted to play this one because as a single version of this song, it's quite bright in the mid-range. It's pretty pinched around the treble area, and the bass is rather thin. It's typical for the radio production, you might say. So, how did the Yallarhors cope with this troublesome delivery? Very well, actually. As I say, this is a neutral amplifier design, so it's not going to lie to you. The monoblocks will tell you something is wrong, but they won't shred your ears in the process. They will indicate that the soundstage has been strangled to the point of screaming, but they don't punish you for daring to listen. Frequency discipline is retained. Neutrality is paramount, so the unruly mids are not allowed to be naughty and nasty. And that's all you can ask for in this situation. The amp done good, in other words. So that's basically the review of the monoblock version of the Yalahor power amplifiers. But let me put all of that into some sort of context. Let me give you some final thoughts. We'll do some pros and cons, and then I'll give you a rating. That the Yalahors are flexible enough to transform from a super duper near field amplifier to a pair of top quality stereo power monoblocks is one thing, but to do so at a stupidly low price is quite astonishing in my opinion. Now, do I prefer the Yalahors to the more expensive Valvets in pure sound terms? Well, yeah. Yes, I do actually. Now, okay, you will need a balanced preamp for the Yalahors plus the cabling, and that might trigger extra spends. But even then, these power amplifiers offer incredible value for money. They are genuine giant killers, folks, gotta say. And because they also present themselves within a small footprint, they can sit in a neat and tidy overall setup as well. These are one of the easiest recommendations and award-winning ratings I've had the pleasure to post for some time. Pros and cons. In the good section, we have clarity, and there is lots of it, and it does wonders for detail. Bass is focused, which adds detail to that area too, and punch. Treble is lovely indeed, very spacious. I like the fact that the Yalahor can be, well, designed to suit. You can either have a near field single unit power amplifier, or you can add two and go monoblock. It's beautifully flexible. And I like the footprint, which is very small. So you can have a top quality hi-fi in a small area. In the bad section, well, it's balanced only connection for monoblocks, which, well, kind of depends on your point of view. But that will not take away the fact that I want to give this particular unit, the monoblock version of the Yalahor power amplifier, a whopping 9 out of 10 and a deeply groovy. A hearty congratulations indeed. And that's it, folks. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. And if I can ask you down below somewhere, if you can click on the like and subscribe buttons, it will help me and this channel in so many different ways. Also, keep going further down, I'll put a link to the company. And in addition to that, there are links to me and my company. And that means my website, which is still new and still sparkling and worth a look, and my Facebook group and my Patreon page. If you want to see the latest hi-fi news, etc. video, there's one out this week. So check that out. And there are back issues or back episodes, you could say, on the Patreon page. In addition to that, there's all kinds of buyer's guides and music features and all kinds of goodies. There's a whole ream of stuff, plenty of it exclusive to Patreon itself. I'll be back on Friday and I'll give you a music alert video. It's quite possible there might be others in between because I'm still playing catch up. Anyway, until then, folks, I hope to have your company. Incidentally, until then, bye bye for now.